And we live.
We live.
Testing, testing, testing.
You sounding good, brother?
Give the people a good minute to come in.
Only a minute. There's 60 seconds in it.
Yeah. Peace, 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 peace. Peace and love, y'all. Peace and love. Grand Rising. Grand Rising. Happy liberation. All right. All right. Beautiful Saturday rising. Beautiful Saturday morning. Peace and love to everybody. Appreciate y'all tapping in. I'm here today with my great brother, one of my greatest friends, closest confidants, Mr. Jovial Joel from Healing Heart Sounds. How you doing today, brother?
Hey, another day living the dream, good brother. And like you said, confidant. You know, that's a deeper meaning than even a friend. So, peace and love to you, and power to the people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so today, it's July 4th, and we celebrated America's independence. Well, some are celebrating America's independence,
Yeah,
and we celebrating the liberation of our minds in an effort to combat this uh, Euro conquering system that we living under. But we'll take the days off, we'll take the celebrations, the time to spend with family.
that's right.
You
We'll
know what
take
I'm
that family
saying?
time, and we'll do great with it. You know,
But
it'll be liberation is the watchword of the day. You know, what
exactly.
you want to call it, independence. We're gonna be on liberation.
And for every day for us is a holy day. So um yeah, and I just wanted to take some time and not only spend some time with you, my good friend, but kind of introducing the people that might be, following and watching the channel to a different side of what we got going on. They
Most
see,
definitely.
the KhemHotep episodes, and they may or may not understand what that means and where that comes from. And you being one of my closest friends, I kind of wanted to, share this stage with you, but also like further introduce this element of knowledge of self and wisdom and esoteric understanding. And I think it's a beautiful thing, where we have these similarities between us. You and I are both um frat brothers. That's how we met. And we're the same number on the same, we have the same line number, which is 3.
Yeah.
So
This thing of
kind of
ours, right?
kind of coinciding that with the KhemHotep episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like things were lining up. And we had talked about this a couple weeks ago. You were doing some stuff, and we'll get into it in a little bit, at the
Yeah.
Juneteenth festival a couple weeks ago, celebrating our quote unquote liberation, our liberation celebration in this country on
Mm-hmm.
Juneteenth. You had some stuff going on down here in Atlanta, with
Most definitely.
the Juneteenth festival, and so I wanted to kind of do something around that, but I figured, juxtaposing Juneteenth with America's Independence Day, would be a great time for us to have this conversation. And
Hey, vice
really,
versa, right?
we trying to be revolutionary, but I feel it's important for us to start at a foundational level, and that's
Uh,
why I chose to have this conversation on sound. And so, before we get into that, my brother, let's tell the people a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, and who is Jovial Joel.
Well, I'm Jovial Joel. So jovial is an adjective to actually describe me, Joel. So jovial is of or having childlike joyous energy. So that's a Jupiter energy. That's the big brother planet of all the planets in our solar system locally. And I'm a big brother in my own family. So to be named Joel, to be the big brother, and I'm Joel Jr. So I'm living out the next generation of my dad's life here on this existence. And so my origins are very humble. I come from a rural, still rural county in southeast Georgia on the coast, right against the ocean. So I'm from Belleville, Georgia, which you won't see on the map, but you may see Crescent, Georgia on a map. And even more so,
Belleville.
I grew to go to middle school and high school, one county south where my dad was from in Brunswick, Georgia. So you may know Brunswick or the Wick town. All of that's my home from McIntosh County, where Belleville and Crescent is, to Brunswick, Georgia. All of that. I'm a two county kid, is what I like to say. And that's the Geechee Gullah Coast. That's the Georgia Gullah Geechee heritage that I know that my sound comes from. Anything to do with sound, I know comes from what's in this DNA of mine. Because sound is so ancient and it's passed through the people. The people are the living aspects of the creator. So my hometown has a lot to do with who I am still. And I've gained more respect and love for my home after having moved to Atlanta for college and now where I have my home with my family. So my hometown is very dear to me. There's only 10,000 people in that county. We don't even have a stoplight. We
Mm,
still just have stop signs. And I will say nature sounds and resonates all around you in that space,
absolutely.
along with the singing of the people at church. Church is
Hmm.
a bedrock of that community. And I'll give you a little history of that. After the Freedmen's Bureau, after the Civil War around the 1870s, 1880s or so,
Hmm.
a lot of our community was able to institute their first church. So we're actually in that church anniversary season of these ancient black churches on the Georgia coast. In my church, for example, my home church, Prospect Missionary Baptist Church, we're about to have our 140th, give or take, church anniversary,
Wow.
coinciding with that time when the Freedmen's Bureau allowed former enslaved uh, ancestors to be able to create their own place of worship. So I'm so thankful about where I'm from, because when
Hmm.
you see me, you'll see where I'm from in my phenotype. When you hear me speak, you'll hear it because I can code switch from speaking professionalism English so I can get into that Geechee day.
How
And
you
then when
be?
I sing, you can feel the tones and the intonations of my origins in my song,
Yeah.
even into my vibrational sound. So thankful
Yeah.
for home, bro. I
Eh,
appreciate you tapping in on the home. That's a great foundation. That's the root of the tree.
absolutely. And I grew up in Southwest Atlanta in the church, and I know how important the church is to the community, to our people. It definitely offers us a lot of our first attempts or our first opportunities to explore different things, different programs, different extracurricular activities, and one of the main things is the musical ministry.
Yep.
I believe you were, I don't know if you were in a choir, but I know you played the drums, and I know you
Yep.
sang in the
Yep.
church.
So yeah, in the
um
choir, and then when I turned 13, my granddad
mhm.
got me some drums, and I essentially kept them at the church because I'm like, well,
Yeah,
I'm going to be using these at the church because I'm going to be the first drummer at Prospect. So
my
I was
real
the
one.
first drummer.
That's hard. And so, um I grew up in the church as well. I sang in the choir. And I had a couple of solos and all that good stuff. My mom was
Mhm.
very active in the church before she passed.
Yeah.
And I I just remember the joy and the emotions that we would evoke, you know what I'm saying, with the music. And I always remembered how when it was my turn to do a solo and to really like kind of get the people moving, I would have these different, you know, vocal uh incantations and inflections, and I would, you know, do certain things to just get the crowd moving. And I always just remember how like impactful that was, and just being able to, you know, affect people in so many different ways through how I created sound just through my voice. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And
And the
you know,
voice is the ultimate instrument, but we'll continue on.
absolutely, absolutely. Let's transition it from that foundational experience growing up in the church and being active in the musical ministry, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about that. But like how you and I met, our you know, one of our main common threads is, you know, we're members of Omega Psi Phi. Shout out to the bros.
Yeah,
And
shout out to Q's.
you know, even how we first met, it was almost like a big bang because we both some big bros, and you know how the
Yeah,
bros get down. So when we can meet, we men, we like to challenge each other. You
yeah.
know, with that challenge comes a little hostility, but the fact that, you know, we met under those pretenses, and you know, you're literally like one of my closest people to this day. Our families have become family. You know, we're
Yep.
intertwined, and it's because of the bros. Um, I wanted to kind of talk about our experience with sounds and what, you know. We love our founders. Everybody loves their founders and the elders
Mhm.
and the people that came before them. But like for us specifically as bros, like what are your thoughts on how we were introduced to the sound of the bros? You know, we hop, we got heavy boots, but then, like you say, we very like melodic as well. We sing songs, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yeah, what are your thoughts on that, my bro?
So, even me personally, I had a different entrance into Omega Psi Phi. My uncle, Uncle Herman White, salute to that ancestor, showed me the way. I used to
True.
travel with him and my aunt, who's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha,
Hmm.
Marcia White, and we used to go to HBCU homecomings. And I used to hear, this is specifically
Mm,
at Albany State University, where a lot of my family went.
hmm.
I'm one of the rare ones that actually went to a PWI, but I am a fruit of a HBCU bloodline. So
Absolutely.
going to those Albany State homecomings, the Qs at KI would very much be having that Omega spirit. They'd be chanting, they'd
Yep.
be marching. You hear those boots, you hear those very reminiscent type of tunes because we are a
Mm,
Christian based organization on Omega Psi Phi. So bros were remixing songs from our chanting or time in the field, and they're putting the Omega energy and the storylines into that. So it was very calming to me and easily transition. Like, oh, they're making that song from this song we sing in church. I get what they did right
hmm.
there.
And
They're
almost
taking
like
that song from an old, 1960s hit. I remember hearing that when my dad or somebody was
exactly.
working in the yard on a car. So
I
I'm seeing
love
Omega Psi Phi keeps that traditional sound, and it was easily a bridge for me to respect it and to offer my service to her.
exactly. And very similar to my experience, you know, I didn't even know, but my grandfather was the bros, and like we didn't necessarily go to a lot of homecomings and stuff like that. But my mom, she was a member of Delta as well. It's just little things that now that you're a member, you see like where those rituals and those
Yeah,
practices come from, and kind of even relaying it to the church. You talking about growing up in a very rural town, you
yeah.
know, in places like that, the church is sometimes the loudest thing in the town. You know what
It
I'm
really
saying?
is. It is the civic center. It is
You
literally
can
the civic
hear it
center.
from like miles away sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Depending on how it's rocking. You know, that's how you know whether or not they're having a good time by
Excuse me.
by how loud it was
Hmm.
historically. And I even kind of like compare that to the bros, and not to say that the other organizations don't make, you know, a lot of noise, but we are the sons of blood and thunder, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So like we very intentionally um placate to just making these noises those heavy boots, those stomps. Like everybody marches and everybody steps, but like we stomp, you know what I'm saying? And like
Yeah, and that's the root. You know, any that low frequency, that is the root. You know, we're hitting
absolutely.
the ground with that boot, and that's
Yeah,
a root vibration in that bass, that harmonic bass that we create. That's like
absolutely.
that can knock down the walls of Jericho. And here I come in, song dog. I'm all about making a
Exactly.
joyful noise.
I was gonna get to that. Like how 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 we transition from just that, but then we also make like sweetheart songs and love songs
Yeah.
and things like that. You being a song dog, literally your dog tag is song dog. I'm the song dog on my line,
Hmm.
but my tag is Versacue. So
Yeah, and I
it
think it's so beautiful that every line has a song, dog. But the bros
has
thought
to.
well enough to name me just that, even if I told him I wanted something else. I said,
Yeah.
name me Trey Songs, right? I'm the Trey, and I sing, and it's 2005, it's 2006. Name me Trey Songs, bro. So I'm not naming you Trey Songs. You song dog, and I was like, touche.
and that was Morilla. You know what I'm
I was
saying?
like, touche. Exactly. I need to be this is who I am. And
Exactly.
growing in my manhood, I see the value of that. They were at a level of maturity to understand that that wasn't the right thing to name you because you are who you are versus putting you behind somebody else's moniker. So
Hmm.
salute to those bros who brought me through and named me that based off who I showed I was.
But and even how I got my name Versacue, not just you know, um, they named me Versacue because I was kind of a jack of all trades. I was
Mhm.
one of the better steppers. I was the rock on the line. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
I did a little bit of everything, but then even with the songs, like yeah, I would sing the songs in a way, that moved the spirit. You know,
Yes.
yeah, I'm the best singer on the line, but like just how you personally, I think are one of the best singers I've ever met. You know what I'm saying?
Fabulous.
Like
Thanks, brother.
but like how you perform with the bruhs, like you brought many bruhs to tears just with your voice. You know
The
what I'm
bros
saying?
became my church, man. Bros became where I emoted that same energy if I'm singing in the church. I was a part of Georgia State's gospel choir. I was a part of the
Wow,
choir growing up in my home church, lead singing. I'm playing the drums and singing. That's where it got to when I finished up high school. I had a wireless mic like I'm Sheila E. and I'm singing and playing drums. And I'm knowing how to move, like you mentioned. I knew when it was time to rock the congregation. It's like
absolutely.
I am an instrument of God, and I'm gonna turn this thing up because y'all got some stuff y'all need to deal with that only can be educed through this sound.
Absolutely. And just like I say, the intentions behind that, even, you know, whether we knew it or not, we were healing. You know what I'm saying? Healing through sound. And it seems very simple because we're singing and we're making music and you being a drummer, you're like responsible for the rhythm and the tempo of the music and
Yep,
stuff
and
like
you
that.
giving people the low frequency in the bass drum and the highest frequency in the hi hat. So
Absolutely.
people are playing in the range of the drummer.
Absolutely. And like how those sounds can be healing, but then juxtaposing that to, you know, some of those adverse sounds. Oh, peace to Noah. What's going on, brother?
Peace,
Just
peace.
just hey, beautiful time today, brother. Happy liberation. We just having a conversation about these intentional sounds. I'm gonna get to some music in the background after we finish this introduction up in a minute. But like we're talking about how we're healing sounds, me and my good brother Jovial Joel from Healing Heart Sounds here.
Peace, peace.
We share a common thread and as members of Omega Psi Phi and young black men growing up in Georgia that grew up in the church, and how we were introduced to different sounds and the ways those things can heal people and the ways those things attract people. But then also the juxtapose that with other ways sound can attract, it's not necessarily always so positive. But even then, like it's about a choice. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? You gotta choose what you you consume, what you introduce into your mind state, your emotional state, and then even like how when we're listening to certain sounds and music and the reason why I was in the shower earlier this morning, and I was even thinking about today being Independence Day, and like the sounds associated with July 4th. And you might be in the house, just chilling, and it's July 4th, but you thinking there's some gunshots going
Oh
off,
yeah, it's that
something
issue
like
in the
that.
air. It's like it
And,
got me yesterday, man, on July
exact,
3rd.
yeah, but it's juxtaposing that with, oh, it's supposed to be a celebration and it's supposed to be Independence Day, but we dealing with a Eurocentric mind state. We're dealing with people who come from a state of constant warfare, and I
Yeah,
think they do that to remind you of where we come from,
yeah,
whether
to
we,
commemorate that
you know what
wartime,
I'm
that
saying,
war
whether
back.
whether we believe it or not, and I think that's one example of how intentional sound can be, and we just not recognizing it. It kind of goes under the radar a little bit, unless you're just really tuned in to the right frequencies. And
Mm-hmm.
so the fireworks being something that can be awe-inspiring and visually breathtaking, but also invoke fear and remind people of you know violence and gun violence and warfare. You know what I'm saying?
And it's
And then
amazing as a
and
man now
then
when I heard
not
that.
hold on, not just that, but they be shooting guns on July 4th. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Where I stay it's a very melanated environment. But it be popping off in the evenings around this time of year. But go ahead, bro. I mean to cut you
no,
off.
bro, I just had that. I was actually on the grill last night, July 3rd, and I heard that loud strike, and I'm thinking like, first I had to think, and then it was such a split second, like, oh, it's fireworks. We're in that frame of July 3rd, 4th, 5th. All of that you can expect to hear some boom, boom, pow, pow.
Exactly. And so, but just supposing we talked a little bit about the church and just changing that, or I guess leading into more of the conversation around knowledge of self and spirituality and how that relates to sound, because sound is a stimulus. um I wanted to kind of ask you a question and maybe even start up a discussion in the chat with questions around, why do you think they play music in church?
I think that is to actually educate. And when you go into educate, we get into etymology. Educate rooted into educe, to draw out. It's the understanding, knowing that there's something in you that needs some soothing, needs some refinement. It needs to be brought to the surface to be dealt with, and music has been passed down to us to actually go in there into that self, tap into the emotions, and bring up that which needs to be dealt with right now, according to what may be being spoken in the sermon, or just to be in the house of the Creator in the sense of worship service. The music needs to be there so that the matters of your heart can actually be brought to the surface. You can emote, and so you can cleanse. If you don't deal with the dirt and just put a rug over it, eventually you're going to understand that it's going to be other effects for not having truly cleaned and dealt with that which is not serving you. So, in a living environment, too much dirt can cause sickness and things that make you unable to live there. So, to actually cleanse, that's why they say it's close to godliness. To cleanse, so cleanse emotionally, energetically, because you can't touch sound, you can't touch music, but it touches you. Your skin being your largest organ, it naturally is able to decode the different vibrations that come in contact to it, and
Absolutely.
our people know the instruments and the type of flow of service using sound that is going to lift out of that heart of that person the issues of their heart, so that it can be brought to the surface, dealt
Mm,
with, cleansed, and brought back to a balanced state of being versus imbalanced, where we're depressed, feeling like less than, or sometimes we're feeling a little too haughty, and it helps to bring us back to a I have to be grateful, I have to be grounded type of energy, because we have educed and drawn out, just like a syringe draws out the formula that may help you. We have to draw out using that sound. So it started out with clapping and stomping them feet. Though that's the original hi hat and the bass drum, and it got to drum sets and things like that. But like we mentioned earlier, the ultimate instrument is the human voice. I can say that coming from where I'm from, and I've gone to churches across several states and sung with choir members from different parts of the world. The Geechee Gullah coast of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina goes from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida, has a sound that's very unique, and people are able to feel. If we're talking about pain in the song, they can feel the pain when we emote from our culture and our heritage through the set of notes that we use that we passed on. I've only
Mm-hmm.
received the notes that I learned in church, really. In my church, if you go to a county level, my church sounds different than the church 3 miles down the road, actually.
Exactly.
We'll sing
Yep.
the same song, but our song sounds different in my church than in their church. What's that about? So I
Man,
love
and
that, and I know that church is the grounds that passes down a vibe that helps to draw it to the surface.
yeah, and that's interesting. You mentioned that because even then, not to say it was purely competitive, but I remember it got a little competitive with which church band or which church choir could move the people the most, could make the most joyful noise. You know what I'm saying? I
Oh man,
got man got the congregation rocking the most, and you would go to visiting churches and revivals and things like that, and it became part of the spirit of competition was through the music. So
totally.
that not to say that I mean, church kind of relates to people on so many different levels, but they have like athletic leagues and different things like that. Maybe even like certain clubs, chess clubs, debate clubs, and all kinds of stuff like that. But like just with the music ministry, like how important that is. I think in a lot of ways that is very pivotal with like what you say with what attracts people to the church because they come looking for a certain type of healing, and a lot of times the music provides that, and whether we believe it or not, or whether it registers, consciously, we still are kind of not necessarily victims or like, but we're like products of those sounds. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Because
totally.
depending on your relationship with the church, some things may happen, some things may change, but those rhythms, those moments, that music stays with you. I remember when I used to sing in the choir, I used to sing the solo for "His Eyes on the Sparrow," and
Mm-hmm.
my favorite part about that song, as you know, well, some of you may know, it starts off like really low, where it's like asking questions. It's like, why should I feel? But
Mm-hmm.
then when the chorus comes in, it switches up and elevates, and it just when you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and it just goes into a whole thing. Where if you've never heard the song before, it like catches you off guard,
Yeah.
and um it takes you to a place that you may not have been prepared to go, so to
And you
speak.
know what? A lot of the song structure of church songs led to the music industry. We
Absolutely.
got to think we're just talking church here in our personal lives, but it's that same institution of church that started and opened up R&B. Meaning you
Exactly.
could take those same blues that we're singing about in church and put a little
Hmm.
bit more rhythm, a little bit more instrumentation to it. But even like you said, the song structure builds up. It don't start out going crazy,
You
but
know,
getting you hype and getting you all in that energy. It actually builds up to it.
and
So
it's
how do we
intention.
learn that over time and pass that down too?
That's literally the conversation because all of this. Shout out to Dewan B. He's a historian on YouTube,
Peace
and
up.
one of the things he talks about is just how the history of music in America, the history of Black music, starts in the church, and
Yeah,
so that's why we're kind of starting off this conversation. It's literally gonna lead into more conversations about modern music and everything,
totally.
but like I say, literally one of the best films from last year was Sinners, and the whole thing about that movie was just opposing how music can be used in the church for good, or in the juke joint for quote unquote evil, or
Yep.
to attract evil. You know what I'm saying? But
To
then also
educe.
to educe. But then also, for the main character, the passion and the emotion around the music he made in the juke joint is what led him to become a successful musician after witnessing maybe some of the hypocrisies of the church, or the relationship that he had with his father, trying to constrict and confine his movements and behaviors around, yeah, you're a great musician, but you have to you know, stay in the church. You can't really do
Mm-hmm.
nothing outside of the church. So kind of just like in America, they're gonna remind you every year through the sounds and through the through the celebrations of this is what it means to be an American.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, breaking free from all of that because even though religion can be a beautiful thing, etymologically it's literally about being bound to a belief. It's constricting, specifically religion, not spirituality, not your specific faith, or what you believe, but the concept of Christianity and Islam and Judaism. These are all religions, and um they're very like restricting,
Yeah,
and
they're
and
restrictive, and they have division lines. They have
and
lines of
they
what you
and
can't do and what you can do. But that's one
more
thing I learned.
importantly, they're
Yeah,
tools of conquest. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? And so they're meant to be used to control people.
Very left
And
brained.
since we're talking about liberation and freedom today, to and in my opinion, and you may agree to a certain extent, but the freedom came for me from knowledge of self.
Totally.
And so when I speak about knowledge of self, I don't necessarily say to down put what other people believe, but really it's about affirming what you believe about yourself, where you come from, what you believe about spirituality or faith and things like that. And not only affirming but reaffirming continually and consistently through what I like to call spiritual understanding. So,
Hmm.
Brother Joe, what put you on your path to knowledge of self and spiritual understanding?
So the years 2012. I'm out. I've graduated college, and I'm in that in between, looking to establish and get into a career cycle. Things aren't going how I expected, so expectations aren't being met, and I was just crying out from internally, like, to my creator, the unnamed creator. And we won't even be able to say that name, but where is my change? Where is my path? I've been following this path for the longest, and I seem to need more answers than I'm able to find in the singular text that I've been given, the
Mm-hmm.
Bible. And so I went on a quest for knowledge. I went on a quest to get more answers. I often said in college, after college, oh, I'm all the books I read to get out of college, I'm not going to be reading for a while. But I would tell y'all audience, like, reading is what changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
And being presented different thoughts through books and reading, I can honestly say, brother M. Reed here, KhemHotep, was the catalyst for my journey. He shared with me one book. Now, I had already been reading the Power, uh, the Secret, and the Magic. Those three were suggested to me when I was in this path of looking for more answers, feeling like all the church I had went to and all the sermons I listened to still had me like, it's something missing with my assuredness of my path of success that I know I'm destined towards. So in that path of gaining more knowledge so I could get more answers of my internal questions. Brother M. Reed, KhemHotep, offered me hey, you should check out this book. And the book title would throw me up, would throw anybody off, because you would think it's about one thing, and it's really about using that as a reason to make you get into the book, but it's not about that. It's by a brother named T.C. Carrier. It's the secret science of the black male and female sex. And what it talks about is the exchange, the energy exchange that's happening all over the universe, from the galactic level all the way to the internal level, to the man and woman level, even to just a singular person in breathing its sex, because there's an outbound exhale and there's an inbound inhale. So that type of perpetual cycle allows things to be infinite, which the actual sacred energy exchange, sex, allows things to be infinite. So in unlocking that, it got deeper into what melanin is, my connection to melanin, and all my ancestors. And it was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This
Come
is
on,
deeper than
man.
rap. And even so that the story and the storyline of what we called in Christianity our Savior was co-opted from Heru, who's the
Mm-hmm.
original term for hero.
Yep.
So it's like putting all of that into play led me and helped me blaze my path into, let me get deeper into knowing who I am before I get to know who this world is. Because something about this melanin is so ancient that it has already created these stories of these exceptional humans and the potentiality that is in me as a human way before what I even been brought up on, which I thought was all there was. So which helped me understand that in our quest to the full knowledge of self, everybody is a self. That's the I. Everybody can say I. I isn't exclusive to Joel Myers Jr. KhemHotep can say I. If you're watching this, you can say I. We're all connected to some I-ness. Who's this I? What is this I? That's the self. I feel like each of our bodies, though, is the me. And he's showing you right now the secret science of black male and female sex. Book right there. Hey, salute. Anytime I see that cover, I can't do nothing but salute it, because if you look at the sacred geometry being presented right here, that perpetual cycle of exchange right there is happening before you got here. It's happening while you're here. It's going to keep happening. This is how the creator sets things in infinite order. So I was truly blessed by this book right here. This book led me and unlocked thousands of other books that gave me the knowledge and gave me the ideas to help me balance in my own Libra scales internally of my own zeitgeist. What is my personal paradigm? This book right here led me to eventually curating my own library, which Brother KhemHotep helps me uh, populate with great publications, essays, books, novels, and media and video clips over the last, that started in 2013, not too
Yeah,
long after
man.
reading this book. And it's
Yeah.
been, people have still been joining that Google Drive, which hosts thousands of books and offers infinite paths of enlightenment of your own knowledge of self.
And you know what? We're gonna leave a link in the description, because whether or not people are gonna use it, if you're listening to this, you deserve access to that library. It's a beautiful thing we created. We decided to put that collection of documents and media together. Man, you taking me back on the path, man. Back down memory lane, man. That's
I know I'm pulling up the Google Drive right now. I'll get the link right now because people do deserve that. And it's interesting. People find it in my IG and stuff because it's in my link
mm-hmm.
tree
Yeah,
and it's right there. And certain people find it enough and they get in there and I'm like, wow, you found it.
yeah. Peace, Ron. Appreciate you joining us this morning.
Peace.
Happy liberation. And so, beautiful, brother. And I got to thank one of our frat brothers. One of my good friends who kind of put me back on my path to knowledge of self. when he introduced me to the Hidden Color series. I know that brother Tariq Nasheed and even Dr. Umar. They've kind of swayed different ways back and forth over the last
I
couple
know they
years.
like Professor X and Magneto,
I
actually.
know, man. They've done some things to kind of, tarnish their image a little bit, I should say. But uh I remember in that early 2010s, like the movement that they had with Hidden Colors and the lectures and all of that good stuff. It was very like profound, sublime, even how just the knowledge and the wisdom that would come from attending these different gatherings and these lectures and people were kind of coming together to share space and share perspectives. And I think that was just one of the most beautiful things. And even with knowledge of self, you should never really um be afraid to share. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. I got it. Let me see if I can get it in the chat. So but with that being said, uh where we at right here? When we're talking about sound, one of the spiritual understandings around sound, sound and hearing is part of the five senses, but a lot of
Yep.
people don't realize that that is the first sense. That's where I believe a lot of our understanding of reality came from, because even when you're in the womb, one of the first things you experience is the sound of your mother's heartbeat. Talk
Bingo.
about that. Talk about that for a second, brother.
Man, it's a blessing that I've joined the ranks of fatherhood in this last year. We now have an 11-month-old, and that process of the gestation period is very near to my recollection from our daughter's entrance. And the
Mm.
one thing that, even in listening to her existence, the first thing you know she's alive is a heartbeat. It's a
Mm-hmm.
rhythm. It's a
Yep.
pulsation. It's a pulse. It's a beat, and
Mm-hmm.
it has a speed. It has a frequency, and she has one. And of course, if she has one and she's in an embryonic state inside of the triple blackness of that womb of the divine mother, through those waves is transferring the mother's heartbeat in that local galaxy that she's being formed in.
Mm-hmm.
You got to think about it. She can't see. It's triple dark.
Mm-hmm.
Taste, your brain isn't connected to the memory of a taste or being able to recollect that. Touch, you don't have that system up yet, and so you're left with auditory. And so that makes you think, if everything is everything, the methodology and process of how we individuals are formed in the vessel of the mother is seemingly similar to how this world of light came after there was already a universe of darkness. And if we all existed in a universe of darkness before light existed, that means if we were all supremes in a dark space, how would we communicate? It would be sound. Sound would have to be the medium that's allowed in a dark space. And then once everything is done in the dark, it'll eventually come to the light.
And excellent points, my brother. Like even taking it back to the Big Bang. When you think about a bang, nobody was there for the Big Bang because it's, for one, hypothetical. But if there was a Big Bang, um, that combustion, sound travels slower than light, but people don't realize that spark, that flame, that ignition comes from the sound. So the
Yeah.
sound starts it off. You know what I'm saying? It just, even when we're talking about spiritual understanding, you brought up a great book that gave you a lot of insight. I'm gonna transition to this one book that I believe you and I both shared, because I got it from your line brother. Shout out to bro Coop, bro
Yeah,
Grody Coop.
salute. Ace dog.
And he put us on this book called The Kabbalion.
The Cabal.
And that's a Greek book, or it comes from Greek philosophy a little bit, the Hermetic philosophy of ancient Egypt and Greece. But when we're talking about The comedic version, and I might bring that up in a little bit, but the comedic version is called Ancient Future,
Mm,
and just this understanding of what is known as the seven principles or the seven universal laws,
the seven.
and talking about this spirit of three. The third principle is vibration.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to kind of discuss that a little bit because the principle of vibration says that nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates, everything is energy varying only in speed. You know what
yes.
I'm saying? What do you think about that? And tell me about your introduction into the Kabbalion and this understanding a little
And
bit.
so, yes, everything varies. Everything's moving. Nothing is at rest. Everything vibrates. Everything is energy, and everything is different in only the degree of speed. The degree of speed saying that these different things are moving at different speeds. And when you're talking about vibration and sound, that means it's different notes. A different
Mm,
speed is a different note.
different
We go
frequencies.
from A to G, A B C D E F G. As far as the musical scale, those are
Hmm.
seven, right? A B C D E F G.
Come
Yeah,
on.
that seven is the same seven
Yep.
being presented in another way. So that to me shows and connects to why I do what I do. That's what
Uh-huh.
makes me and you two different people. We're from the same source, but we have a different degree of speed of our cellular vibration, which makes
Hmm.
you be a different being than I am.
Hmm.
So our sounds are different, but as you see when we come together, Mike, it's harmony.
Absolutely.
So take that into account, y'all, that we are microcosms and macrocosms. Who you harmonize with is that other note that makes you a harmony. If you add another person that's harmonic with y'all, that's that three-part harmony.
Yeah.
And that's always happening. That's happening with our voice, with our instruments that we use, with the intonation that we give, with our speech to our loved ones, the vibration of our messaging, because
Hmm.
it's wrapped up in the vibration, which includes your intention and your emotion. So yes,
Hmm.
the Kabbalion exposed to me that really, if you want to take it from my perspective, I can truncate all of the learning outcomes of the Bible into the seven different principles of the Kabbalion
Mm.
in only like 90 pages.
Very very much so. Definitely. I man, and how these, even just the numbers, the frequencies and all of those things like they resonate through sound in a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying? And even just the definition of resonance, it's a
That
mental
rock.
thing. Even it's a mental thing, but it's a auditory definition. I don't want to go. You know what? We will. Why not? It's
No,
why
real
we
talk. The
here.
resonance, man. You get deeper to the etymology in the beginning. So that's one thing I always tell people: what came after the darkness, but before the light. A
Yep.
preacher will say, "In the beginning was the word, and it was spoken to existence." A sound, and the scientist gonna say, "Big Bang," a sound. So
Yep.
both of them go back up to this thing called sound, and they're just two factions telling you two different stories about it.
Exactly. And it's a reason why I brought it up. So I might as well just point it out. But just the idea of resonance having this double meaning, double entendre, understanding of like things that resonate or are harmonious on a mental, emotional level. You know what I'm saying? But also on a physical level, it's acoustically. And
Mm-hmm.
shout out to the company, man, Justin Hunt. He has a few sayings. Man, that brother, I love how he introduces like spiritual
Give
idioms into
thanks.
into his into his content. His tag phrase is "It's all happening." And if you remember from the Kabbalion, the principle of mentalism, the first principle is that the mind is all and the universe is mental. You
That's
know what I'm
right.
saying? So, but he also says thoughts are physical. And when I think about something like that, I'm thinking about when you think something, you kind of start almost a train reaction to manifest. And that's
Yeah.
literally spiritual energy. Just because it's going on in your head doesn't mean it can't be heard. You know what I'm saying? You might have to hook up brain tubes, or some electronodes to a sensory machine to detect those brain frequencies. But that's I guess the physical evidence that proves thoughts are physical.
And
You
we're
know what I'm
begetting
saying?
universes within ourselves. Like
Absolutely.
we
You know
have
what I'm
universes within us, and each cell is a universe. So you keep going
mm,
deeper and deeper, and you'll keep finding beings that exist inside of universes that are constructed like cells.
mm. This is, and it's just amazing. You know what I'm saying? And how all of these things come from that heartbeat, that the doom, that evidence of life. When you go to look for somebody to see if they're alive, you check their heartbeat.
You're not checking their brain, y'all. We live in a world that's been misogynized to say brain, brain, because the masculine energy is oftentimes the brain of the operation with logic, reasoning. But this world isn't built on logic and reason, it's built on feeling.
Mm,
And that's where the heart comes in.
absolutely, absolutely.
And so we have
And
to be led by our heart and then allow our brain to give us the algorithm how to achieve that feeling.
then let me pull it up here as well. Um, I wish I had a screenshot from your app. We'll talk about the app in a minute. But
Okay.
when we talk about the seven, the universal
I'll get something
seven
sent your way right
universal
now.
the seven universal laws, um, we get into this other principle of seven with the seven chakras. You know what I'm saying?
Show you right.
And that was the interesting thing about that is, let me see if I can make it a little bigger. I don't know if it'll. There we go. There you go. That heart chakra is in the middle. You know what I'm saying? It's the
Mm-hmm.
centerpiece. And it, in a lot of ways, it speaks to the other chakras. When we're creating music, we definitely pluck at different strings along this meridian, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. But that heart chakra, the music that resonates with that heart chakra is, to me, what is the most impactful, the most profound. Because even when you're talking about producing music on a lower vibration being felt more in the root, a lot of times that goes unnoticed. But when you get to that heart, that's when you start to feel certain emotions. When you start to feel, um, the music physically a little bit more. Tell me how you feel about that, and I'm gonna go ahead and
Look,
pull this up too.
the ascended masters say that halfway between heaven and earth is the heart.
Mm,
So we as humans hold a heart, and they say the heart may be this other technology that living beings just have to have, whether you are uh, a terrestrial like we are or an extraterrestrial. The heart allows for you to be a part of this grand experiment that you call life.
mm,
So any ancestor, any being that you want to connect to, go into your heart and imagine yourself accessing their heart. Don't worry about their body. Go
mm,
into their heart, and you can understand their heart intuitively. That means you learn
mhm,
from within. You don't have to be fully explain their heart. You can actually, through the times that you've engaged with them, understand what their heart is, and you can
mhm.
actually communicate heart to heart. That's some of our extra senses and stuff that we have, where it's beyond the five senses.
Yeah.
It's the ability to have the intention, go into the dimension, and the heart is its own dimension that connects every being that's ever lived. So
Mhm.
imagine you connect into the heart where you can get your intuitive downloads of how you feel, broadcast them out, and it allows you to open up to receive messaging from another heart somewhere else
Mhm.
in the multiverse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man.
So music
And
should tap there because you want there to be very ripe for further communication. Having an open heart chakra and balanced heart chakra means I can trade my heart for Michael's and still understand and understand.
mhm. And even when we're talking about Christianity and the faith-based belief,
Jesus is the
occur
heart.
it occurs in the heart. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if I released a video a couple weeks ago. It was 4 hours long called "Fruit of the Heart," but it talks about Kendrick's the Heart series and
Excuse me.
how he kind of used that to connect with his fan base after he, changed his name from K Dot to Kendrick Lamar, but then kind of like a double meaning also pretty much proved how he was putting his intentions around his Christian beliefs in his music through the
Yeah.
Heart and the Heart series. And a lot of times that goes unnoticed. People don't necessarily resonate with that as much as they do, maybe the street urban lifestyle and, flashiness and
Yeah,
the
because what you would think in that appearance of that lifestyle that no one has a heart. But
mm,
there's a heart in there. It's just probably imbalanced, and we
mm,
want it's probably vexed even.
mm,
And you go back to the path of the knowledge of self and the ancestors of Kemet. A lot of their meta nature and their reliefs have in the judgment that your heart is going to be on a scale. On the opposite of the scale is a feather,
come on now.
and your heart needs to be lighter, as light or lighter than that feather. Really should be balanced. Your heart should be as light as a feather. If your heart weighs more than the feather, you usually have to go back and reincarnate and go fix yourself through another lifetime to actually get your heart so it's not vexed. Meaning, being vexed, you probably have attached some type of egotistical, earthly, terrestrial desire, and you're a celestial being. You went for the trick. Don't fall for the trick of that lifetime. Don't attach to things so much so that it vexes you, because you never know your moment of death. And if you are holding on to a moment of vex, that is beyond your ability to go to the next realm of being a supreme soul.
Sorry. Man, you said a whole word right there. So, man, this is why I had to bring him up here, y'all, because this is my good friend. You know what I'm saying? Like, and these are the types of conversations we have on the phone all the time. I'll call him about something so simple, and
Literally, y'all, we just said we got to take this thing live because
you
these are
know,
the conversations we have and been
it,
having.
it'll take us places where we'll be going for 3-4 hours just on the phone about just any little thing. So for those that don't know, this is a depiction called the judgment scene. And ancient Kemetic understanding, this is pretty much where you go in the afterlife, where your heart is being weighed on these scales. And as you can see, there's the heart over here, and even though it's not a feather, there's the feather symbol right here to symbolize the feather on the scales. And um, this is pretty much very integral to their spiritual beliefs around the afterlife. And this might not be the best depiction, but there are other adaptations that show so much about how this civilization, this way of life, has influenced our our current way of life, our current civilization. Let me see if I can get a better image here. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Ah. So, I don't know if you can tell, but that looks like the stars and stripes, and that is the throne that the father, the heavenly father, known as Asar in the Kemetic tradition, or Osiris, sits on. And then when you look at the scales representing Ma'at, but also juxtapose that with the scales of justice, and not that it's tied into too much poetic justice, but the scales of justice kind of coinciding with the judicial system. And then what do you have up here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12 jurors, I believe.
The inters.
You know what I'm saying? And so just in this one image, you have a foundational understanding where America's judicial system comes from.
Bingo.
You know what I'm saying? And so just
And if you
little
look at,
things
I
like
learned
that.
something new, Mike. I want to share. If you look at that
Oh,
last relief,
go ahead. Hold
the
on. My bad.
the netters or the inters at the top, actually,
Mhm.
don't they look like vertebrae?
Yeah.
So they are in connection to the vertebrae being a part of this, where you're supposed to allow yourself to meditate and rise your energy up that spinal column monthly whenever the sun is in your moon sign. I'm sorry, whenever the moon is in your sun sign.
Yep.
And this is telling you that that process is a part of getting your heart to be light as a feather.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's crazy. I said it was 12 jurors, and I've seen adaptations where there were 12. If you actually count them, they're 14. And then people may not understand numerologically what the number 14 symbolizes, but it does symbolize the moon. It's because the moon has 14 phases. Essentially, it's a 28, 29-day cycle. But even on the 29th day, there's no phase. You know what I'm saying? So the phases, they go from building the full moon and then taking away from the full moon. And that adaptation of 14 is actually synonymous with the story of Asar, because if you're familiar with his mythology, because it's all mythology, nobody ever thinks these people really live, but it's a way to tell stories so that you can gain a spiritual understanding. And so the mythology around Osiris, or Asar, was that he was chopped into 14 pieces.
Bingo.
And that symbolizes the different pieces of the moon. So just even in the artwork, even sometimes you don't have to create, sound for things to resonate, for a millennium.
And it resonates within. So that's the other thing.
Absolutely.
Just because there's not an external resonance, it's always an internal resonance.
And then there was sound creating this. There was sound. I'm pretty sure whoever was drawing this had some music going on in the background.
Yeah.
This might be a funerary papyrus. So they might have been playing, as they were, trying to ascend somebody's spirit to the afterlife. And so transitioning this conversation, because we'll be here all day.
Yeah, we could be on that all day.
What are some of your thoughts on the sounds we experience today versus how should we approach sound? And so what I mean by that, we live in a very urban environment. We hear a lot of like sirens, car horns, and traffic, and sometimes there's construction going on, and all these different things. And then we've been talking about celebrating the 4th of July with fireworks, and living in certain communities where you might hear gun violence, certain things taking place. But then also the music that we're listening to, the games that we play. Like, even you say you play, I know you play a lot of Madden, but
I'm a
in the life of the timeline of Madden, how has the gamification changed through sound? But then also the controllers vibrate now. You know what I'm saying? So just using different things like that to put you in that type of reality or that mind state, and not just the game, but the hip hop or the raps and all of that. What do you think about the thoughts of what are some of your thoughts on the sounds we're experiencing and we're confronted with versus the sounds we should be experiencing, and how should we approach that?
So I think it just shows that we're thoroughly immersed in this physical world. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, but I will also say that every sound you hear is a reflection of self. So you mentioned construction. Oh, I hear some construction. It's a part of you that's being constructed. Take that in. Oh, I heard the ambulance. Oh, there's a transportation to an emergency. There's a movement to an alert happening even within you. You may hear some children playing. Oh, there's a child in you that used to play. So it's still all you, because your supreme self sits outside of time, and you are essentially timeless, but you're placed in this time-bound vessel. So you have the external sound environment that is a reflection of you, but the most important reflection of sound is the inner voice you're having and the conversation you're utilizing with your inner self. How are you talking to yourself? Are you speaking life into yourself? Are you downplaying yourself? Are you talking crazy to yourself? Nobody can beat ourselves up better than ourselves.
Exactly.
And that starts with how you're speaking to yourself on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
That's what is most important to me. Most of my vibrational sound offerings are to connect with your inner ear and your inner voice. Even if
Mm.
your outer voice, even if your outer vessel is hearing the sounds, most people tell me, Joel, when you played that sound bath, I felt silence. And I'm
Mm.
thinking, how'd you feel silence when I've been playing for 50 minutes? But that lets me know the inner voice silences, and then more of your resonance and visualization comes to the surface, educes up, and you're able to quiet that voice by giving it new things to imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And so the inner voice is what we're doing is all for. If we have this inner voice that's speaking life, affirming things, failing to use negation statements, because the word not is not a true energy to the subconscious. It actually is like a trick. So the more you can affirm versus say, oh, I don't like, or I don't like this. No, affirm what you do like and never say the don't, you know? Or, people say not to cut you off. Well, I think you about to cut me off when you say that. So
Isn't it crazy how that happened like
not
that?
to disrespect you, okay, you about to disrespect me, okay? See what I'm saying? So it's like the
Yeah.
word not is a farce. Get out of using it. Honestly, once you become your supreme self, you should use a better diction, which is your word choice, to actually overcome using this negation energy. So that's one of the things
Mm.
that I gripe and I wrestle with sharing with people is that the challenge is minimize saying the word not and use affirmative statements because
Mm-hmm.
that's your supreme power.
Yeah. Absolutely. Man, beautiful. I could have. Man, you be knocking it out, bro.
Hey man, hey, lend me some sugar. I am your neighbor.
For sure. So that being said, go ahead and spend some time telling the people how were you introduced to the sound bowls and what made you want to practice sound therapy. Um, yeah.
The sound bowls didn't present themselves until I dealt with grief in my own life. And I'm
Mm,
seeing that there's a common thread in those who have exposed me to the singing bowls or the sound bowls. They have too dealt with some type of grief. It's like they choose you through grief and your ability to know that frequency, everything is vibrating, that law of attraction is at play. So if you don't like the frequency you're in, tune into harmonic, higher vibrating frequencies so they can draw you upwards to that higher ideal that you want to live in. So it was my knowledge of self journey through the grief. And then I saw one of my favorite artists, Janae Aiko. I saw her shift into the singing bowls after her brother passed. Her
mm,
brother passed, then she got into the singing bowls. So my
wow.
dad and my sister passed, and then I got into the sound bowls through her being exposed. Like, what is those things she playing? Look them up on Google. Oh, vibration, frequency, harmonic, law of attraction. Meaning, if you want to get to a certain vibration, you need to have those vibrations around you so you can become that environment too. So the crazy thing is, how I got my first sound bowl through this was a gift. Somebody gifted me a sound bowl. Like here, January 2020. Friend of the
Wow.
family was like, hey, man, something told me I was just supposed to give you this. Oh,
That's
okay.
crazy.
I just learned about these recently. Now you're giving it to me. Cool. Let me play this. I get into play it because like I mentioned earlier, I play drums, I play trumpet, I sing. I can play a little guitar, but I have musicianship a part of my vessel. So I played it to the point where I played it so much that my wife's older cousin was like, Joe, you played that other one so much. I want to gift you this one.
Mm,
So that's the second one I was gifted. Another note, a different note. And I'm like, okay, I see the creator, what you're doing. You're equipping me with the vibrations that I need to restore balance that I may have shifted out of in being vexed about people who passed,
wow.
which will bring imbalance to your cells because you're overthinking things like how, why, especially when you know some of the realest, strongest people get it actually humbles you like, oh, snap. These are
Yeah.
strong folks that's passing. Like anybody could get it.
Mm,
And so even there may be a fear inside there that adds to the vex. But these sounds help to detach me, they help to detach me from that vexing of the grief of the passings. So I'm
mm-hmm.
playing these two bowls now. And then I took a trip after our trip that we did as two families to California.
Yeah.
This is October 2020. Then later in October 2020, I had a trip to Sedona, Arizona. I received a full sound bath in a group with the people I traveled with, and
Wow.
in that sound bath, I detached from that grief. I was like a flying color viewing entity, non-physical. And I was like, when I came up out of it, I wasn't unconscious or conscious. I was in some in between world that those sounds all placed me in. And when I woke up out of it, I looked at the sound healer and I knew exactly. I was like, I know what you just did. I get it. I know what you just did right there. You blended harmonics in a way that lulled my consciousness to sleep, but allowed this other form of me to rise and be fully present within my vessel. And in that, I was like, that's a solution for grief right there. People aren't able to detach from it. They don't have anything, no drugs, no alcohol. Those things don't help you detach well. But something about immersing into sound, and that's what I call a sound bath. You're immersed in the sound. You're fully enveloped. Your whole vessel is sound waves going everywhere.
Yeah.
And your body is able to minimize its consciousness level. And then that other form of you rises. That inner voice you rises. And so after that experience, I saw there was a gym show in Atlanta. The gym show had different minerals and things like that.
Yep.
There was a guy who had the singing bowls there. And I went to his booth and he saw how well I was able to play them based off those other two I had received that year. This is year 2020, y'all. This is the pandemic. So this thing was bigger than just a COVID-19 shot going everywhere. This was some spiritual reckoning happening, basically sending people in their upgraded positionings and locations. Sedona was one of those for me. I came back, met this guy. He was like, I see how you play. I actually have a 7 chakra set if you be into that. I was like, yes. And I invested in myself to get the 7 chakra crystal bowl set. These are crystal quartz bowls, and they all attuned to the levels of your body and your mind through the root chakra up to the crown, from the red up to the violet, from the C up to the B. When it comes to the notes, root is the C and crown is the B, and they all work together in relationship to give you the 7 harmonics that when you blend them together, take people on that same journey that I had, where you detach, you're able to be something else within yourself and really not take yourself so seriously. It helps you remind yourself that that physical world is that physical world. You're here for some reason, even beyond what you can say right now. But when you need refuge, you could come into the sound and become your true self again, which doesn't have a body. It's more of just an energetic flame that can envision things, create really quickly, see colors, etc. in a world of sound. And so that's what led me to where we are today. Me playing these singing bowls and adding a couple other instruments that are natural and help to cue visions inside the body or inside that mind for those who need that restoration through sound. And through playing that for a long enough time, the inventive nature says, how can you spread this sound even further? Merge that with my app development background, and I created an app that does what I do, and you can do it too, called Pocket Sound Bath, where you have those frequencies and harmonics studio recorded in a way that allows you to be your own sound healer. And whenever you need to take a pause, these sounds are now in your pocket on your phone.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull that up real quick. So yes, it's Pocket Sound Bath app. That's literally the Instagram page. We kind of jumping the gun a little bit. Before you get into the Pocket Sound Bath, we're gonna talk a little bit about that in just a second. Because that's gonna lead into the further conversations around what happened at the Juneteenth Festival. But tell me a little bit about healing heart sounds. And while you're doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up your website.
Most definitely. So Healing Heart Sounds, that is the bridge that gets you to the app. So Healing Heart Sounds is my in-person pop-up sound bath experience. I've been doing that since uh 2020. So December 1st through December 21st of 2020, I did a 7 a.m. 20-minute sound bath for 21 straight days on my Facebook Live, IG, and that's actually on my personal YouTube, Jovial Joel Sounds, or at Jovial Joel Sounds. Healing Heart Sounds allows me to connect with and work with students at local area Atlanta high schools, middle schools, elementary schools. Even I played sound baths, preparing them for their standardized testing the past couple years. I've worked and and provided sound baths for faculty at Drew Charter School, for example. When it comes to piloting consistent sound baths, utilizing these tools, I've worked with City of Atlanta after school program providing these sounds. Also, I've worked with the DA office of Atlanta, providing them sounds and any of the violence victims that they serve. I've been utilizing Healing Heart Sounds to prove in real life that these sounds are valuable. Through the work of Healing Heart Sounds, we're able to take feedback in from people who come into our experience feeling like a 2 or a 3 out of 10, that they say that's how they feel. And they leave after the experience feeling like an 8 or a 9 out of 10 when it comes to how they would feel in their own vessel. So that right there let me know that I'm not only the client, I'm the player president. These work for me, and just as we are all reflections of one another, when you've encountered them, they seem to work for them, the other versions of me as well. So Healing Heart Sounds is how I go about bringing the bowl experience, the sound bowl experience, or the sound bath experience into your life in real time. Private appointments and bookings, as well as partnering events with other yogis and things like that. I've been doing the last 6 years and continue to do, because the in person will always be valuable, because this is analog sound coming from natural instruments, and that's a different type of absorption than digital sound coming from digital.
It's
But
that vibration.
that vibration is more clean in analog, just like it's cleaner coming from a record player or a vinyl, because of the vibration's origin. It's coming from a more natural element.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love the work that I do at Healing Heart Sounds. It allows me to be everywhere by having an interface to connect. And I'm able to tap in with my after school students by utilizing this web property that introduces the sound and me, who is the instrument, because it is I who's the instrument, and these are my tools. And so I want everybody else to know that each one of you are the instrument. Your body is the instrument and your life is the song. What will the creator take in when it puts the headphones on to listen to the life that you became?
God almighty, man, that's a trade-off right there, Bo.
Because I always tell everybody, I'm just a healing heart.
Yeah.
That's healing hearts through sound.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Shout out to Shep, one of our
another
frat brothers, another trade
star.
Yes, sir. And so, man, I'm so proud of you, bro, because you know I've been there for the journey, and I've seen. I remember. I don't know if we were at the gym show together when you got your set, but I remember we went to that show because it was
We've been to the gym show together. That's what I'm saying.
We've been to the gym show together
times in that season to actually construct my band, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just with this logo, bro, like taking a step back and to like receive it esoterically, the ways it's speaking to me on so many different levels, bro. It's just so much intention. It's almost like it's a song within itself, just visually. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there you go.
Man. So yeah, definitely. And so I know you have a background, like you say, in tech, and so you are, a computer scientist, you app developer, and that led you to creating Pocket Sound Bath. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
So you just mentioned it. I think when you said the technology, it reminded me that all of this is the same type of energy that you learn in the knowledge of self. As you learn about the knowledge of self and vibrations, it's a lot of what it took me to become a computer science major, and I minored in mathematics. So the left brain world is very I'm the force is strong with me when it comes to left brain mathematics, calculation, physics, science. That's left brain stuff. So I proved that I'm worthy of the conversation when it comes to those things. And when you start learning the knowledge and the knowledge itself, you'll learn that, oh man, that's the same foundation of this computer science that I've learned. Understanding the one, the all lives in the land of zero. So one and zero is the binary code. And that's the basis of all things that you're even able to experience with this computer or whatever device you're watching this on. The one and the zero. So that right there in itself is a full conversation that I've embodied through being a computer scientist and connecting these frequencies, these vibrations, this electrical energy, and the magnetism that comes with a computer, and how that does the same effect with these crystal quartz bowls that I recorded myself playing and then created a user experience that's mimicking what I do so that you can essentially be your own sound healer. This is the only app where you can play the singing bowls as I do, but you're not just playing them, you're actually swirling in a circle around the rim and you're receiving vibration back to yourself. So what this does is open up a dynamic meditation.
This
The
screenshot
sound,
of the app, y'all.
yeah,
Just so
this is a
y'all
shot
see.
of the app, version 2.0 right here. These are the singing bowls, the play bowl screen, and as you can tap each bowl or you can swirl each bowl. So if you add that up, that's 7 times 2 or 14 different ways to engage on this one screen. And when you swirl or when you tap, there's a vibration or a haptic feedback that occurs, which taps into your central nervous system. So the sounds themselves access your parasympathetic nervous system. And when you play the bowls, you're now tapping into the central nervous system at the same time. Having two systems of your vessel engaged opens up a dynamic meditation in your psyche. So this is one of those apps where you can do several things. You can play the bowls and record your sessions, or you can just strictly listen to listening sessions that we've curated for you and are curating more and more as time goes on. This allows us to, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, y'all. These bowls cost around $2,000. You get 7 crystal quartz. Like these have been fashioned for the sounds that they are. So they are an artisan type of creation. So they are a decent penny. My thought of creating Pocket Sound Bath is to democratize this sound. Everyone isn't able to afford this $2,000 to get all the vibrations that make up the harmonics. What if I placed it in a studio quality sound user experience and it only costs you less than a cup of coffee to have it? And you actually get to utilize all of them for a week as much as you want to. So, in doing the business of sound, this allowed me to multiply myself and get into areas of the world where I can take the bowls. In the first 6 months, we're already in 33 different countries.
Wow. It's amazing.
And so, as you are a reflection of me, I'm sure you know that you're multi genius. Think about how you educe that genius into a different form that everybody can access. And technology is one of the ways to do that. And I fully leaned into it. I am the CTO and founder, as well as my wife is the CEO of this venture and this offering to the world.
Yeah,
So this is truly a family business that we hope to be able to provide the fruits of it and pass it to our child as we continue to live.
absolutely. Absolutely. And this is an amazing app. This is unlike anything I've ever seen because it kind of gives you an opportunity to really uh tap into your own frequencies and resonance at any given moment in time. I think the feature where you allow folks to kind of record is almost like um a way for them to even like a journal entry. You know what I'm saying? And wait for them to even come back. Because there have been times when I've hit the bows, and I might be in a restaurant or something, and like I'm just going crazy. Like I'm just hitting them, hitting them, hitting them, hitting them, hitting them. And it wasn't until I saw that you added that recording feature where I was just like, huh, going back and listening to it gives you a different, perspective, even of yourself, knowing that you're the, the artist or the the person playing the instrument, and like I
You
think
are the instrument,
you
and
are the
that was how
instrument.
you were feeling at that time.
Exactly, you are the instrument. Wow. And like, tell me a little bit about this movement that you have, where you were that were partnering with the Juneteenth festival here in Atlanta, and everything going on with that. I just yeah, go
So
ahead.
to be a fruit of the tree of Juneteenth, meaning like I am the living ancestor of ancestors who were enslaved. I already have that recollection through record keeping and archive. So I can say that when that news that we were truly free spread and it unlocked the freedom of the freedom of all our people, that means something to me. And I love to know that this creation is one of the fruits off that tree of being free to govern
Mhm.
and create. And with that, we said, now I was able to play a sound bath in a segment last year's Juneteenth, but this year we have Pocket Sound Bath as a brand to co-partner in a
Mhm.
certain aspect of Juneteenth organization. So myself and my wife Jessica Myers, we took on the role of being basically being operational logistics coordinators
Mhm.
for the event and some of the leadership, which
Mhm.
allowed for us to partner and have an activation station or an oasis,
Yeah.
uh, and be able to perform using the bowls on stage to both. One time was to open up the festival
Mhm.
with the djembe drum and drum circle. So you
Yep.
have djembe drum and the singing bowls playing together to open up the festival. And then we had a moment on Saturday on the main stage we called the Pause ATL, where we wanted to be like the palate cleanser for the entire music festival and provide a moment of
Mhm.
sacred sound. For 8 to 9 minutes, I was able to play the singing bowls, play a micro sound bath, if you will,
Mhm.
utilizing the tools, but amplifying the resonance throughout the entire park of Piedmont Park, one of our largest parks and more centrally located parks in Atlanta. Being able to play these sounds and to expose those who may have not been in that resonance before is about exposure. It was about the ability to bring a moment of calm and pause to everyone as you had different musical acts providing hip hop, R&B, uh, soul music. We had some of that, uh, what they call it, Southern soul, and even some country music. But to provide a palate cleanse, to cleanse the palate, and he's showing you a little bit of one of the performances on the main stage with the opening. So I was very proud to be a part of that vibrational opening because the djembe drum is ancestral, and we're reminding everyone that these singing bowls are ancestral as well. Um, they are very much connected to what we do with what we have. Now you have different materials that they're made out of, but these are the crystal quartz that I'm playing, and it was just a moment that we envisioned within. So we experienced it and did enough logistics to where we could experience it.
Absolutely.
So we experience it, we feel it how it feels if we were to do that, and then we say, yeah, that feels good. Let's create the experience. So that's what you're
Yeah.
seeing right here is the experience, being able to bridge the gap between different age groups, utilizing sound and vibration or vibrational sound.
And even just the idea of like combining the technology, because the drum is an ancient technology.
Yes.
It was used to communicate across long distances and gather people around, for fellowship and communion. And then, but using that along with your sound healing technology with the bows, at a festival for liberation of Black African people, African American people. Um, I think it was just such a profound experience. Tell me about the experience, just a little bit, briefly, of the pause, because like we talk about sound, and silence is a part of sound, but also just taking a moment to be still with all of this. And is this too loud? I hope it's not. But 'cause it's loud in my ears, but I hope it's just because I got these
So
headphones
with the
on.
pause, the thought was that at a music festival, where does a sound bath fit in? Well, if you have a multi-course meal, say you have a 5-course meal, where does a palate cleanser fit in? And why does it exist?
Mhm.
It's to actually reset you. It's a reset. Um, being able to reset opens you up to be ready for more. It recharges your energy. It's an energetic reset from the inside out once you perceive these harmonics in your mind. And the
Yeah.
power of doing that is just closing your eyes,
And then
focusing on
just
your breath.
even in that experience, how about the collective experience with everybody doing it together? What do you think people were able to kind of resonate with or walk away with, having gone through that experience, at the festival?
And so, what I'll say is what made this a multi-dimensional experience was that we imparted to the crowd to download the app prior to even getting up there, so that they could
Mm,
play along with us. Right?
wow.
Hey everybody, we're now on the orange frequency. Go ahead and swirl the orange. And so now, while I'm playing the orange throughout the global speakers of the park, you having the orange resonate off your phone locally. Okay, now
Mm,
that's your creativity. Now let's go up to the willpower of the gold. So now we're playing the
mhm,
willpower and the creativity together.
mm,
It's amplified through the speakers of the main stage, but everybody who's following those directions and playing in real time using the tool of Pocket Sound Bath, they're able to resonate that frequency in their local area, increasing the harmonic frequency in our area, raising the harmony of the group that we're a part of right now. So
yeah.
as we swirled and went from orange creativity, sacral chakra, solar plexus, our willpower and our perseverance. Then we went to our heart, green, our green, our ability to empathize and connect with one another. And then we finished it up in our imagination center, or our first eye, our
Mm,
pineal chakra, by playing that indigo bowl. So
mhm.
that was the opportunity of the pause, where that's the first time we did that. It won't be the last. We're already being asked
I was
by
gonna say that.
other organizations and entities, bring the pause to us. Meaning, bring that moment where we're all being sound healers, increasing our resonance, doing a dynamic meditation. Because when I'm playing the bowls, I'm meditating while I'm playing. You don't have to be
Wow.
sitting still to meditate. To meditate is to just acknowledge your non physical self in the midst of the breath.
Mm,
And so that's what the pause was. The next level of the pause was going to be a flash mob, but we're working on that part where we're going to do a flash mob meditation and
uh-huh.
basically run a bunch of people on the field, do it really quickly, and get out of there. Just
Okay.
for the just for the excitement of it all.
Yeah.
So I like to blend a lot of these sensory aspects into one moment.
Mhm.
And if you were somebody who was vibrating with me at the pause, thank you so much for tapping into that new experience,
Yeah.
and understand that the pause will be pausing in the future.
For sure, because I definitely got a little bit of FOMO. I had to celebrate on one of my children's birthdays, so I wasn't able to make it. We tapped in with y'all later on that weekend, and it was just a beautiful experience, man. Of course, Atlanta's Wakanda anyway, but when we get together around these different events, these community centered, knowledge centered, African centered events. I think it affords us an opportunity to come together and share perspectives and gain the level of understanding that we might not have had anywhere else. And briefly, but first of all, definitely let us know when the next pause is, so we can pull up, we can show up, and we can get our pause on with you. You know what I'm saying? So
Hey,
I'll
that might
tap
be the
in with you.
catchphrase. Come get your pause on.
Come get your pause on, and you know, I'm tapped in with you on a personal level, but definitely, you know, for the people that may be around the Metro Atlanta area or whatever, we'll link up, and maybe that could be another opportunity where we could get together, sit down, and have another one of these conversations. Because
Most definitely, brother.
this was just amazing,
You know, we
and
have a never-ending dialogue. You know, it's always
absolutely,
just a pause that gets pressed even between one moment to the next for us, and every moment is nothing but now. So we
absolutely,
exist together in an eternal now.
for sure, for sure. And so, I definitely want to continue further with the conversation, a little bit about what you have going on, and with the sounds, but just transition that into something that I did at the Juneteenth festival as well. Kind of centered around this campaign around not saying the N word. I'll pull it up on my page real quick, because the last live we had, the last KhemHotep episode was around the N word, and so and he's going to be
Which
talking
is a
about.
vibration.
It's a vibration, and I wasn't even really trying to pull up the video, but for those that don't know or haven't had a chance to see it, I need to kind of edit it myself.
Man, as you already know, man, M. Reed is thorough with the education and the scholarship.
Mhm.
So it would behoove you to be open to see his path to getting to that notion. You know, it's
Yeah,
not just to tell you no, but it's like really understand the bridge to get us here.
yeah. And so this was the last episode from a few weeks ago. I wanted to do something um around this on Juneteenth, and I went live that Juneteenth weekend, and I took that energy from this live stream, and I went to the Juneteenth festival, and I sat down with a couple folks, and I asked them around, you know, a couple questions on how they felt about the N word. And so, if you don't mind, my brother, I want to kind of play a couple of those videos for you, and we're gonna
For
have a little
sure.
conversation continuing into this last phase of the conversation today. Because even with just talking about intentional sounds, we talked about, you know, the things you're speaking to yourself, and the sounds and the frequencies you're exposing to yourself through the music and through the movies and artistries and everything else. And so one of the simplest things I believe we can do, as conscious people, is to choose, you know, the right vibrations we want in the words that we use, and the N word is just one part of that.
I
But
say.
I was more interested in, um you know, connecting with the people, and, you know, seeing what they had to say around these things. And so, um let me take this down. I'm gonna remove this, and then I believe I gotta share my screen to get this part of it done. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna share the entire screen. I'm gonna share this one. All right. How we doing? How we doing? Got it. Get it. Got it. Good. And so from here, we're gonna go to here. And we're gonna start with this brother here. So let me know if you can hear it.
Yep, I can see it.
I feel like we should start educating
I can
ourselves
hear it.
better.
Hold
It's
on.
okay to
All right.
use it,
I'm gonna
depends on
start it
how
over.
you use it. For us,
And that's me.
Peace and
For
love,
those
y'all.
that don't know, I know I don't show my face on the channel a lot, but that is M Reed with the grit going on right there. But yeah,
Peace and love, y'all. Back with the M. Reed Report over here at the Juneteenth Festival here in Atlanta, Georgia, Piedmont Park, 2026. We're asking the people how they feel about Black people still saying the N word. And so I got a brother right here. State your name and where you from.
I'm Jay Quan. I'm from Maryland, represent DMV.
For sure, DMV in the house. And so, how do you feel, brother? Should Black people still be allowed or okay to say the N word, or is this something that we as a people should start educating ourselves around the history of that word, and maybe even come up with something better?
I feel like we should start educating ourselves and come with something better. It's okay to use it, depends on how you use it for us as African Americans. Now, any other race, they should not be using it. But us as Black people and African Americans, we should okay to say it. Depends on how you use it.
And so if somebody was to come to you to say, I got a different word, we're here at the Juneteenth Festival, so it's a lot about, Black empowerment and Afrocentricity. So if they said, hey, let's start using niggles. I don't know if you're familiar with that from the Kendrick Lamar album and stuff like that. I personally use netter. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but if somebody said, hey, let's start a movement to replace the N-word with using that, would that be something you would be down for?
Yeah, I love that. That's start a very great change in the environment for the people. I would love that.
Anything else you wanted to say? Anything where people can follow you, or anything you got going on in the community, brother?
Nothing much to say. I just want to say Black Lives Matter. You guys stay safe. Love y'all.
All right. Appreciate you. We check it out. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you. All right.
So yeah, that was just that one young brother.
It was good to see his openness, and he was open to, you know, your stance and your offering of like, well, how do you feel if we made a movement on shifting it to something else?
Yeah,
transmuting it.
Absolutely,
having it change form.
Let me see. I got this one brother right here. He was so dope.
For sure. Peace and love, y'all. Emory Report back here again at the Juneteenth Festival in Atlanta, Piedmont Park 2026. And I got a brother right here. Tell the people what's your name and how old are you?
My name is Royce. I'm 16 years old.
And so we've been asking the people, you know, based on where we are today and what's been going on, especially politically and everything in the world, should we as Black people continue saying the N-word? How do you feel about that?
I feel as if we shouldn't continue saying the N-word because I feel like it's no positive to it. It only brings like negative. Even though a lot of people have it, like I feel like a lot of people already like made it a habit of saying it. But I feel like if we stop saying it altogether, we won't have like no conflict. And I feel like the N-word itself just brings like hate towards white and Black people. And I just feel like stop saying it.
And then I definitely agree with what you're saying, my brother. How do you feel about when, you know, other people, non-Black people, say the N-word, or even mixed people or non-Black people of color, like Latinos, they say the N-word sometimes as a badge of honor, not necessarily honoring or understanding the history surrounding that word. How does that make you feel?
I feel like a lot of people don't understand the history behind it, and I feel like most people are just seeking a reaction. Like I feel like they just saying it to seek a reaction. So usually I don't feed into it, but I feel like all together, if we're all trying to come in as one, we should just stop saying it.
Definitely, for sure. I actually, I'm also a big, you know, believer in coming up with an alternative. So I don't know if you're familiar with Kendrick Lamar, but he mentioned on one of his albums and one of the songs that the N-word comes from Negus, Negus, which is an ancient Ethiopian word for royalty. I myself personally, I replaced the N-word with the word called netter, which is an ancient Kemetic word, and is also the root word for nature. It's where medu neter comes from, which is what they termed as hieroglyphics, but it's associated with divinity. And so how do you feel about replacing the N-word or coming up with something better that could be even more positive, as you say, or more uplifting for our people during this day and time?
Yeah, I feel like we should replace the N-word with netter, you said?
Yeah, netter.
I feel like we should replace it with that because behind the word netter is positivity. Behind the, you know, N-word, it's nothing but, you know what I'm saying, negativity and like history. And I feel as if we serve nothing out of saying it. So I feel like we should just change it, like you said.
For sure. Appreciate you. You got anything going on in the community that you want to tell the people about, or anywhere you want to follow you, anything like that? Don't feel obligated. You know, I understand.
No. Right now I'm helping my uncle with a clothing brand, but we haven't got started on Instagram. I just wanted to say that. And I box right now, and yeah, I can tell y'all my TikTok is Royce80, ROYCEC80, and yeah.
For sure. But appreciate you, young man, and you know, be on the lookout. We had the Emory Report on YouTube for right now, and we just doing a little cultural commentary, you know, talking about the hip hop community and everything like that. So I appreciate you on your time.
All right, appreciate you too, man.
Peace.
Man, when I tell you that young brother was so dope.
No, he was wise, man, and like he brought things to me. Even me, I have to break a habit because it's times I be on nature. It's times that I'll let emotion come up and I'll use the N-word as like an arrow because I be on that Sagittarius, so I'll shoot the arrow at somebody.
Yeah,
and I should yield to my higher self more times than not, which is be a part of transmuting. Because I really love transmuting. I really love taking things and bring them into a new form. So,
Absolutely.
you know, as you trailblaze that path, I want to recommit to supporting that and being that.
And one of the beautiful things about that young man, we were at the festival, just having a good time. And you know, there's a lake at the park, and these two young brothers, he was one of the young brothers that came up, him and his homie, and they just started fishing at the lake. And so I'm there with my family, and my sons just started chopping it up with them and asking a million questions about fishing. And I was just on some like, let me holler at the young man, see what he think about this. You know what I'm saying? And just to hear those words from him, knowing, you know, brother's 16. And he's just
he had great
out the gate. It's like, man, this is negativity.
He had a great
you know what I'm
saying?
saying?
He taught me right there.
Yeah, but I'm gonna switch it and real quick. I got a surprise for you. you gonna love this. But yeah.
All right, peace and love, y'all. We got the Emory report here. State your name, where you from. We out here at the Juneteenth Festival here in Atlanta.
I see our CEO.
State your name, where you from.
So I'm Jessica Myers. I'm from Atlanta, ATL.
So I've been walking around asking people about whether or not we as Black people should still say the N-word. What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's the connotation behind it. I definitely think it's the power, because fuck means to plant a seed. But if you use it in the wrong way or a different way, then that's the context behind it. So I think if we can say the N-word to the same extent, because I do have some people I'm like, no. And I don't mean like the derogatory way, but if I say it in a derogatory way with the ER, that's different.
Now, with that being said, do you think that it's important also to kind of talk about the history surrounding the word and the history around our experience? Because regardless of whether, you know, the connotation, I feel like some people just are uninformed with how they use that word, and they use it so loosely. And so I'm not necessarily against, you know, whether or not people should say it, but more so I want people to be educated and saying it from an informed place. What are your thoughts on
if
that?
you start going to that, and then we go back to negus and like other terms when it was actually used in a proper way, and then we have a young prince right here. How you feeling?
Exactly. And so that's another thing. I think you can use alternatives. You know what I'm saying? I say netter, but you know, for those that want to use
N-word too.
It is
That's technically an N-word.
but just elevating the people's consciousness around it, so they a little bit more thought provoking with how they use the word.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Did you have anything you wanted to plug real quick for the people?
Oh, Pocket Sound Bath. It's an instant pause in your pocket. Sound bath anytime, any place. We're giving instant access. Be sure to check us out. PocketSoundbath.com.
For sure. Appreciate you now. Thank you.
Hey, that was love. Shout out to the goddess.
Yeah, shout out to the Supreme CEO goddess lover.
What are your thoughts about that? What she had to say?
It's that we're products of our environment. And like I said, it's times that she can even recollect saying negus being in my times when I was on negus, but then I'll let life and its tests bring me back to being a product of like, hey, West Side be the best side. What's up, man?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or assimilating to an area that you may be in, not being as much of the trailblazer spirit that you know you are, and really just being a product of the environment versus being the coffee that shifts the environment. I think that's what I have to draw nigh to at all times.
Yeah. And then even she imparted us with a little bit of wisdom when she said that the F word comes from planting a seed. I didn't even know that, but just understanding that and how to, it could transform over time, but then become this word synonymous with all these different things.
Yeah. It get co-opted by the society, and really, I think a lot of our hip hop artists who, like you mentioned, the whole like mulattoes. Like you mentioned that, and it's like it makes me think some of them may have been co-opted into the game so they could say the all elusive N-word, which everybody, analytics say goes a long way if you can say the N-word in your music. So
absolutely,
that's
literally before we get to that, because that's part of the conversation. I want to go to this last little video. Shout out to this brother, man. He one of our elders. We call him OG Burdock because he got a business around Burdock Naturals, and so he has some profound wisdom with discussion. Let me get him and his words in real quick.
Peace and love, y'all. We got M. Reed out here with the M. Reed Report. Go ahead and state your name, brother, and tell them where you're from.
John D. Barry. I'm out of Durham, North Carolina with Burdock Naturals.
All right. And so I wanted to ask you a question about we had the Juneteenth Festival here in Atlanta, Georgia, Piedmont Park. And I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about black people that still use the N-word? Do you think we should still use it, or do you think it's time for us to let it go?
It's time for us to let it go. Get away from all that. So I do a lot of work with the youth and other areas. And my grandson here wrote a book at 17 years of age. And with all the research that I've done dealing with the youth and stuff like that, a lot of the things we do is because of the insecurities. We're not feeling good about ourselves. So we call ourselves derogatory names, not only the N-word, but in a lot of areas. We got to get away from all that. So I'm actually getting ready to open up a school, K through 5th grade, all boys. And what we're going to do with the boys is we teaching them who they are. See, we call ourselves that because we think history started with slavery. But history started at the beginning. We were here at the beginning. So once we start teaching them that we are who we are and that I am, when we start teaching them that, we're going to get away from that N-word. Because we're going to call ourselves the kings and the God that's within us. That's all we're going to call ourselves. So we won't have to use those negative tones anymore.
Tell the people one more time again who you are and where you're from.
I'm John D. Barry from Durham, North Carolina, with a health and beauty product company called
Burdock Naturals. Burdock Naturals. All right. Appreciate you, my brother. Thank you. All right.
How y'all do?
Hey, love the elders, man.
Hey, salute the elder, man. It's like he reinforcing that like, and he lived through times when it was like extremely derogatory. And it made me remind myself, hence why I Nas always say peace, God. I started saying peace supreme. Because that is my shift from the N-word. It's to call you a supreme. Meaning I'm pointing energy for you to be your highest form of the M-Reed. Because I'm coming to you speaking my highest form of the Jovial Joel.
Absolutely.
So yeah, supreme is something where I'm now recollecting through this conversation that was my shift away from the N-word.
Absolutely. And so just man, that was just a great experience, and being around the folks for Juneteenth and celebrating
on location.
Yeah, celebrating our liberation, and having those conversations with the people. Man, just it definitely ignited another fire in me around this movement, and I'm carrying that with this conversation around just intentional sound and being more conscious about the sounds we use, the sounds we create, the sounds we speak to ourselves, and it's just we got to kind of like get to a point where we're holding ourselves accountable, but we also are holding the artists accountable, with what they create. And you briefly talked about it just a second ago, with a couple of examples. I wanted to specifically talk about how do you feel about J. Cole and Drake's use of the N-word, because they are black men. We're not going to take anything from that. But if we're going to be technical, they're also mixed race. You know what I'm saying? And not to say that diminishes their blackness, but that does, even for them on a personal level, influence how they interact with the rest of the world. You know what I'm saying? They interact with the world as black men, but they also interact with the world as, mixed race men or men who come from a mixture of different ethnicities and racial backgrounds. And so they're using the N-word while it technically applies because they're quote unquote black, even though that's just another man-made creation to divide and label different people. Their use of the N-word, to me, almost is done as a badge of honor, and it is to prove their proximity to blackness. Because even with J. Cole in the live streams a couple months ago, like as he was explaining himself, and I wanted to pull the videos up, but I couldn't stomach it. I couldn't stomach how long it would have taken to pull up certain clips. But he would just be like, they would be asking him, you know, you think you the greatest of all time, and he'd be like, you know, as an MC, I'm supposed to, but netta, like N word, no, like the way he would just be like, you know, I know he's on the couch having conversations with, you know, his peers and his contemporaries, but just like well, how loosely he was using the word, to me, it came off almost as a badge of honor, like a disingenuous badge of honor. And then even with Drake and his experience with the battle, real quick, how Kendrick said, you know, we don't want to hear you say that no more. And then his mom comes on the one song and she's like, you know, maybe I don't think you should say it, but he cuts her off saying, you know, like what do you think about that? Like, and how can we get to a point where we hold these men accountable?
It's them with the proximity to the power of the the original Black God, the original Black Supreme, and the power that we wield when we say it. Coming from Black indigenous mama, Black indigenous father, creating us, which is a different Black experience than the mulatto, because that allows you to get and be in other environments that they know they shouldn't be saying it based off the social heuristics of it all. But your Black side allows you to say it. So we got to get to the point where that's not good enough, because what it has done, it's allowed people don't be really thinking about what race you are. They really just look at your skin color. And it's really spawned off this whole Latino, Arabic, everybody with that same Semite looking skin tone. They think that allows them to say it too, which has really opened it up for everybody thinks they can say it now, and there shouldn't be any repercussions, except for maybe fully Anglo white men. But white women feel like they should say it because they're making love with a lot of Black men now. So it's the enablement for me. Like, it's too enabling, and it's like it's once again co-opting something from Black culture that we have to decide what it is. It would be cool if we didn't say it anymore.
That's what I think.
It is. We make it cool because we cool.
Yeah.
And they want to be cool. And so they want to say it because they like, yeah, the one thing that made me cool if I could be up here and say, man, N-word, please. Or N-word. You know what I mean? All the ways that we say it makes it cool. But when you have these mulattoes with the skin color that looks like a lot of other Semite races, it allows and enables these Semite races to think they can get it all. And it's two things. Either we're going to stop saying it, or we're going to start cutting out the tongues of those who do saying it to prove that we ain't playing. There's got to be some kind of negative reinforcement that shows that the culture, the profiting and the highly profiting culture of Black, indigenous, Aboriginal folks at large, and our lingo. It's just one of our lingos that they think they can get cool points, likes, followers, social proof.
Yeah.
Based off how accepting the world is for them saying it. Mulatto guys believe, oh, my daddy was Black, I can say it.
Yeah.
But you ain't got no Black mama.
You know what I'm saying?
Your mom is Black. So it's like you really like crabbing. You like, just like I say, when you be trying to steal somebody else's cream or they shine, that's what you're doing. Because
to me, it's proof of their proximity to Blackness without a full acknowledgement of the Black experience in general, but their Black experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, I honestly believe that it's almost, what's the word? Not a spoiled way of looking at it. Well, because I'm Black, I can say it. It's like, well, why? Why do you want to say it when you know the history around that? And then even to the Black people that say it, they say, when I ask them about these things and they come up in the conversation, it was like, well, I've always said it, or that's what, my people's call me, and I think when you learn more, being more intentional about these things, you kind of gotta get to a certain level where you're understanding that this is what we term low vibration. Everything has a resonance. Everything vibrates. Everything moves. Nothing is at rest. And so when you say that word, even if you're like being endearing, you know what I'm saying? That word comes from a low vibration. You know what I'm saying? And for certain people, it resonates differently. And to ignore that is to do a disservice, to do harm to your fellow man. We feel it when a non-black person says it, but when we say it amongst ourselves, it's almost like you know, accepting or being complacent in that low
Yeah, definitely being
vibrational state.
complicit.
You know, you're okay being in a low vibrational state.
And we have to make that the uncool thing. We have to set the standard of high vibration or nothing.
Absolutely.
Essentially. And where we're striving to be and how we want to cooperate amongst ourselves, how we want to relate. We have to want to relate at the higher levels versus the lower levels.
The reason why I'm bringing this up, because after I did this live, like that Juneteenth weekend, there was a conversation with Talib Kweli, and forgive me, I can't remember the other podcaster's name, but he's a Puerto Rican brother who grew up in New York, and he talked about how he says the N-word all the time, and he grew up saying it, and now
I mean, I feel like they want to be more black in a sense of they know that they are.
I mean, to be honest, a lot of them are. Let's just say it. That a lot of them are black. A lot of them are mixed race. They have, Afro Latino heritage. And even he said, like, my grandfather is a black man. You know what I'm saying? And he pointed at Tyler. He looks like you. And speaks Spanish. And all these things are very true. But just the idea that almost like a certificate. The N-word is like a certificate of.
Oh man, it makes them feel like, because look, bro, at the highest level or even at the lowest level, the recessive gene versus the dominant gene. The blacker you are, it should speak to the dominance of that gene level. When you're not clothed in that dominance on a visual skew, then people don't receive you like that dominance either.
Yeah.
But you want them to know that you're connected to it by the vibration you can make.
Yeah. And we gotta call it out, like you said. We gotta get to a point where it's not cool.
We have to pull the plug on it, y'all.
It's low vibration.
I seen how the youth pulled the plug on 6-7 after the adults got to it. They was
That's
like,
crazy.
Hey, we don't say that no more.
Nah, like it was like a week.
Stop it. We don't even do that.
It was everywhere. Like, cause
same way they nixed 6-7, we gotta nix the N-word.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like I say, it's low vibration. And it's connected to a lot of destruction. I talked a minute about Lupe Fiasco's behavior this past week. I did a live stream yesterday where I briefly went into, well, not briefly, where I went into a lot of that. And so we'll talk about that briefly today. But I wanted to bring up this thread that I saw kind of connected, not just the N-word, but other low vibrational behavior in the music and how that influences people. Because as you know, we're from Atlanta, but we're also fans of Future. And, right, wrong, and different, Future is very low vibrational with his music. And I wanted to, as much as we love Future, as much as we love listening to him, he's, and hearing about his experience and shared experiences with us growing up in a similar environment, it can be very detrimental. And so I wanted to bring up this thread that I saw because it talks about how Future influenced Juice WRLD, who's no longer with us, and how even his music, as much as we, turn up to it, it really can have a tendency to bring us down. And a lot of this is circled around the India Ari conversation that she's been having this past week about Young Miami's new single "Spin That," and how
India Ari actually supports the Pocket Sound Bath app. She tapped in on a post that we had early on in the app. So,
oh wow, that's love. Shout out to India Ari, man.
So she plays vibrational sound therapy tools as well.
She's always been a shining star
for sure
in our community. You know what I'm saying? Just a beautiful soul, and she don't get celebrated enough. But thank you, India Ari, for all your
really appreciate you guys
and your voice for speaking up for us. And so, kind of circling that conversation around what she's been talking about with the the derogatory nature of the music with the single spin that and glorifying, degenerate behavior and criminality and all these different things, and how that can lead us to a life of you know death, to us to or to not even a life of death, but ultimately lead to death and destruction, because we're not being positive. We're not using the tool of music, because music is a tool, y'all. The
Yes, yeah,
sound,
man. We're not using music for the highest order.
you know what I'm saying, to reinforce and reintegrate with a lot of that higher vibrational things. Hip hop stands for higher infinite power, healing our people.
That's
You know what I'm
right.
saying? And while hip hop is the culture, music is just one part of it. Rap music is just one part of it. We have to kind of get back to the origins and the intentions around that of what it means. Because in here and seeing this story, and I'm gonna read it really quickly, it's just sad. It's just very disheartening. Knowing where we came from in the '90s and our experience with, Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac and Big L and Jam Master Jay and Proof, and how those brothers were taken out. But then, 20, 30 years later, we're experiencing, and our children are experiencing the same thing with Triple X and Juice World and Nipsey Hussle and Dobie and all these other brothers that are just being taken from us far too soon. And not that, we could have saved them by not saying the N word, but, I believe in no such thing as coincidence. And you say that all the time. That's one of your favorite things to say when something like this happens, where it's just like no such thing as coincidence. And I see how a lot of things are connected, through like threads of vibration or threads of intention. And there's no such thing as coincidence. This came up on the Threads app. And so it says, before Juice World was named on a mortuary tag, he was a sixth grader in the Chicago suburbs listening to a grown man rap about lean like it was a lifestyle worth inheriting. That man was Future. Years later, Juice World told Vulture how their first meeting went. That's the first thing I told him. He just was like, wow. And he kind of apologized. The hero, face to face with his influence, flinching at what his music had done. And then it says, India Ari has always been right. You know what I'm saying? And so it says they made a record together anyway. And, that record came out a minute ago. But Future and Juice World presents World on Drugs on October 2018. And the cover art of purple syrup dripping onto a planet of pills. And when he told me that, I was like, oh shit, what have I done? Future told Rolling Stone. What made it heavier, Future had already quit lean. He kept rapping it because he feared fans would say his sound changed without it. The persona outlived the habit, and the habit outlived the boy who believed in it. On December 8th, 2019, 6 days after his 21st birthday, Juice WRLD seized at Chicago's Midway Airport as federal agents searched his plane. Witnesses said he swallowed Percocets to hide them. An officer administered Narcan. He was pronounced dead that morning. The Cook County medical examiner ruled it plainly. Oxycodone and codeine toxicity, manner of death accidental. A kid who rapped, "We ain't making it past 21," didn't. Nothing happened to the machine that fed him. Future's show stayed packed and the catalog kept streaming. On Mask Off, certified 9 times platinum with over 2 billion streams, he chatted Percocets, Molly Percocets, with the cadence of a man holding a pharmaceutical endorsement. Free advertising for a product he had personally stopped using. It moved someone who then died. And the ledger recorded that no debit, no accountability for the message, only royalties. Raise any of this and you're branded a purist, a scold who thinks every song must be deep. Music can hold duality, they say. Everything doesn't have to mean something. And they're right in principle. But duality requires a spectrum to swing between, and the spectrum doesn't exist. Look at what's actually pushed. The rap charts today are lean, sex, cars, and flexing. Not one heavily promoted record in the country speaks to this American moment, politically or socially. Not one. So Young Miami, the City Girls, the whole lane, they were never the disease. They're the symptom. Artists doing exactly what this market rewards. Even the critics concede the void. Mainstream protest music has claimed almost no enduring space in the pop timeline, and none now. The problem was never one artist or one song. It's the appetite, the audience, and the machine that keeps setting the table, then calls your hunger for anything else pretentious.
Pretension. Oh, you being pretentious.
Here is the real diagnosis. Anti-intellectualism became cool, and now it's armored. The dumb thing is celebrated. The questioning thing gets swarmed. We are living inside one long episode of the Boondocks. The satire Aaron Magruder built to skewer exactly this. Nihilism sold back to the community as authenticity. Except now, nobody is allowed to play Huey. Say the emperor is naked and the crowd rushes to defend the nakedness, then asks why you hate fun. A song called Throw a Baby will chart. There is no quorum anymore, no standard, no counterweight, nothing that requires a message to answer for itself. The uncouth is simply free to be, protected precisely because it demands nothing of anyone. And so the sound that helped kill a 21-year-old plays on, not under examined, not debated, unchallenged. That is the quiet part. Nothing is coming to meet these messages. Nothing. So when I read that, my bro, I knew I had to share this with the people.
No, that's what I meant.
I had to bring this to the table in this conversation. What do you think about that, man?
No, that's totally it, man. It's been armored. And did we arm it? We essentially, through our complicit nature, armed it. Did we have the funding to arm it? Not so. But our attention is the funding, essentially. So it's where we attract and where we shift our attention is what brings the funding. If we didn't attend to it, it wouldn't be funded. So we have to have some singularity on what we attend to and what we don't. But it's oftentimes we've been placed in a hyper individualistic, I call it toxic individuality world, where individualism is the most rewarded thing, and people who are socioeconomically challenged are looking for the rewards. So they're looking for, like, how can I become wealthy in this money? And oftentimes you're gonna be rewarded for the mundane.
Yeah.
And
even
there lies the
speaks
issue.
to, even how it speaks to Future, continuing to make the music, knowing
Because Future
that
comes from the slums in the sense of his upbringing.
Yeah, but he's knowing that it's detrimental, and he's saying, "I'm still continuing to make it
doing it
because I need to make money." And that's interesting because he got an album coming out next week, and we're gonna probably tap in with that, and maybe I might start a review page.
Yeah, we might need to review that because I know I'm gonna listen to it.
I'm gonna listen to it too.
It's me knowing that I have a duality of my own nature that Future reminds me of a lot of my beginnings.
But even with
early
this
times before wealth,
with this new product, he's saying it's the real me. And so is he admitting that what he's been saying previously was not the real him, and now we get into a different place, a different perspective? Or is it just gonna be more of the same, bathed in a deeper level or a deeper
you're supposed to give me some growth. Exactly. I've been following you now for 15 years through all of this.
Because he could put a new rapper on the same product and we might perceive it differently, but that's for us to decide and us to really dissect and decide whether or not we're gonna hold him accountable. And that is the conversation around this. Is like,
so until we have an army or militia that can actually inflict any type of true negative reinforcement that a lot of the other factions of power wield on us, our most powerful weapon is our attention.
Mm-hmm.
We give things attention that gets branded commercials placed on it that gives it value in its monetization structure.
Mm-hmm.
We have to minimize our attention on those things, even if they're psychologically targeting us. We have to then shift into a new arena where our attention can be holistic.
Definitely. And so the last example I want to talk about with this intention and holding these artists accountable is about Lupe Fiasco. I don't know if you're familiar with what happened in the last week with him. Did you hear about that?
I heard and I seen some of your commentary, but I haven't seen the clips myself. I just can tell that Lupe's facial, the way his facial reactions don't look like he's vibrating high right now.
Yeah, and we talked about Talib, and now piggybacking with Lupe. These are some of the higher level lyricists in the culture in rap music. And when we think about them, we think about them as being on an intellectual level higher than most artists, or more intellectual than most artists. And even the people that listen to them are more intellectual consumers than the average consumer of hip
Uh-huh.
hop. You know what I'm saying? But to see both of these brothers and their examples of the acceptance of the N word with Talib Kweli, and allowing other non-black people of color to say it because of their shared experiences, even though that word comes from a shared experience around being degraded and all these other things. To Lupe Fiasco getting into it with content creators because of disparaging remarks around his career. And I think it started off where people were saying that, the analogy is that Lupe doesn't have a mid range. And then there's this one brother, shout out to Quality. He hopped in the live stream that I did yesterday, and he, shouted me out last night on his live stream as well. And so he's going viral with everything that's going on. But he even like foreshadowed it on a live he did a couple of months ago when he was talking about this topic. And he says he's talking about how, Lupe, you're no one's saying you can't rap. Like you one of the best rappers, lyricists ever. But it is hard to digest and process your message. Like we have to go, dig a little deeper, and not to say there's anything wrong with that, but that is going to deter people from being attracted to your music. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the reality of it. And not to say that his music isn't good, but if you're going to it seeking understanding, seeking to resonate with what he's talking about in the message, but people are having a hard time receiving the message, is definitely something where I think Lupe should be open to that feedback. And he kind of like pushed back like completely, and he showed up to the brother stream with like this armor of like confrontation and conflict. Like the brother, even though in the brother's previous streams he was joking and he was making jokes about Lupe's career, he's a content creator and that's what he's supposed to do. I personally believe Lupe being the more successful and popular professional in the experience, he should have came to it with more accountability, with more respect for the content creator, and in turn he wouldn't have been met with the same amount of disrespect, because once they both started kind of getting disrespectful towards each other, it became a whole thing. And then, that led into comments about Kendrick Lamar and his talents. And then later on, comments about Nas, and Lupe kind of kept coming back to other content creators, trying to either check them or clear up his statements. It just became a whole thing, right? I went back and watched it on my live yesterday, and I'm a bring it all together. To me, even though it was a little bit disrespectful, going back and forth, it took a turn when Lupe called this man a fuck N-word, a FN. And he had no reason to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is you have your own career. It's been your first album is celebrating 20 years. And so, to be honest, whatever this man says is not going to take nothing away from those 20 years. But the things that you can say and the things that you can do can affect your next 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Because you have the limelight, you have the celebrity. People are tapped into Koala because he's a dope content creator. If you have never seen any of his stuff, please just take a moment and go watch any of his videos. He's a real cool brother. But he can't hold a candle to Lupe and his career. You know what I'm saying? So when people are pulling up to his live stream, 9 times out of 10, they're pulling up to see Lupe. And to see this brother who's a top tier MC, one of the greatest, you know what I'm saying? Arguably top 5 lyricist of all time. And to see him behave this way, not just that he's an MC, like a top tier rapper, but he is a professor. And I believe when you achieve certain levels of status in academia, that comes with a certain level of responsibility. He's out here teaching, he's teaching the youth, but then he's showing up on his brother's live stream, calling him an N-word. And then he also, in the past and recently, referred to another black woman, another content creator as the B word. And that just kind of spiraled out of control. It took on a life of itself. He still hasn't apologized to these people directly for the things he said. But then it kind of like he's now being painted in a very negative light because of his choice to use these derogatory slurs. Regardless of how he felt about these people, you know, you can control what you can control. So even if you feel you're being wronged by these people, how you respond is ultimately, you know, your responsibility. And it says more about you than it says more about them or what they did to you. What do you think about that, bro?
I mean, for Lupe to unravel is it seems to be out of character. Now, you don't know him personally, but this shows you somebody who listens to an artist for long enough and the subject matter and the thought streams that he placed on record. You would think that he have restraint and he would embody a lot of that samurai, being a scholar, being a mentalist type of embodiment with his restraint and his ability to transmute people's commentary into something more fruitful. But this is also showing that maybe there's some blind spots in his personal life that are helping this unraveling happen, and this is just a byproduct or a larger emanation of that energy he may be dealing with personally, because it seems like he done stepped out of his normal presentation of himself
to outside of stuff
like this. So it's like it's not like you, Lupe, and I about said Kanye because he's one of Kanye's artists.
It's very, very similar. Like it's
and
two
it's like
sides
maybe
of the
he's
same
trying
mirror.
to bite a Kanye vibe off to get more recognition, because maybe his ego wants more recognition at this point, more respect. And so he's like, oh, maybe y'all respect Kanye when he does this. I'm going to do the same thing. But it doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, I can't take you seriously if you're going to act like this, Lupe, at this point in the game, 20 years past food and liquor.
Yeah.
It's like, it's disappointing. But, you know, we as humans, we all have an opportunity to resurrect ourselves. So maybe he'll resurrect through this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope he does.
I feel like it gets no lower than this.
Yeah, I don't want to say that.
I mean, it can get lower, but
yeah, but on some, you know,
if you want the because you're an OG artist at this point. You probably want to get back in that limelight, and you got to find a new way to do it.
Man, he chose to use that word, and even if you were there at the live stream, you saw how we were talking about resonance in the conversation. The moment he said that word, it resonated on a different level.
Everybody called like, "Oh, come on now, why?"
It was like, bro, why did you say that?
Like, why did you do that, bro? Like, why did you go that long?
And then later on, he's on another person's live, and shout out to Skip and We Are the Cipher and Jason. You know, I love everything Jason got going on with his channel. He's formerly known as Jalopy Bungus, but he's now Jason Amaru Speaks. And so I think that's dope that he fashioned his new brand after his real name, and I thought that was really dope. And then, you know, Skip and I have, you know, had our differences with We Are Deciphered, but like I've been saying, bro, I gotta celebrate what they did, because in a moment where they can be, you know, in awe or taken aback by Lupe's celebrity, they on live stream with Lupe. He's like, nah, man, I'm gonna call you out because you called my friend, this black woman, out her name, and you didn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? And he doubled down, like, nah, F that B. You don't know what she did. And I'm like, nobody knows what she did, Lupe. But we know you calling her a B. You know what I'm saying? And it don't look good. It looks terrible.
And that's one of those things that we can't allow to be cool, no matter if this good Joker done sold a million records. Like we still have to be protection of womanhood at the very basis of interaction and relating.
And it's time. I honestly think you can't, because even in the conversation, some people, made a point like, well, he's a rapper. He says the B word. He calls women bees all the time. And even he said, I call women bees, sometimes. He made a song called Bitch Bad, stuff like that. And so, but like at some point, we got to get to a point, and I'm going to kind of come to a close with this. We got to get to a point where we're holding these artists accountable. We're removing these derogatory terms from our lexicon, and there's no question we are uplifting our women. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's been time, but at some point we got to kind of, for lack of a better terms, come to Jesus around these things. With the way Doechii
and when you say come to Jesus, you got to come to the original,
come to the heart.
Jesus, and
you got to come to the heart.
You got to come to that heart. You got to come to who helped you have a heart if it wasn't a woman.
Exactly. That heart.
So we really got to sell out on that, because that's, in doing that, that will bring a lot of balance to the imbalanced world of misogyny we've been operating.
Absolutely. And misogyny is just another branch in the racism division tree. You know what I'm saying? I think misogyny might have been the first racism. So as men, we got to hold ourselves accountable with that. But even the artists in hip hop, like, look at the history of how we've degraded women in our music. Yeah. And let's get rewarded for it. Man, let's get to a point where we can kind of like cut that out. You know what I'm saying? Like, things that have happened in the last couple months with Doechii, even like Young Miami, the Young Miami situation that's going on, Rhapsody, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. Like, these are women MCs or women rappers that experience, different reactions, different responses based on how they were presented in the industry, but also based on how they're perceived by the people, that support them or the people that attack them, and it's got to get to a point where it's just like, no, like, we got to stop. It needs to be cut out. Like, even though, like, we understand the negativity associated with something like Spin That and Young Miami's song, the intention of having a good time and celebrating, women wanting to go out and be free and be liberated and having a good time, being successful. Those are all very valuable and noble things. But how can we get to a place where we're celebrating that separate from degenerate behavior, where it's not even associated with degeneracy? Where you could come to this conversation, if you're Lupe, you could come to this man and have a conversation about your music, his content, and how, you're being presented without being disrespectful and calling him out of his name. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
It really is. And I said, on my live, and I think it's been said by a couple of others, that Lupe might be suffering from, some mental health or mental emotional issues requiring some therapy. I think even we all know a little bit about what Young Miami has gone through, and different things like that. Doechii has spoken about her experience with therapy and the things that it's done for her. And kind of just to bring it all home, sound therapy and the things that it's done for you, and uplifting your spirit and coming out of grief and sharing your positivity with the world. The intentions around that is what needs to be sustained and promoted and celebrated in our community and in our culture. And that's literally that's what I wanted to bring home.
And that's the crux of the matter.
That is, that's what I wanted to bring home with everything in the conversation today. I want to kind of take this energy. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but I know you, my bro, so you with me on this. We need to develop a standard, and maybe it could be like a rubric that we publish and promote, and we put out like a scorecard on whether or not something deserves our attention based on certain metrics. And then once we have that standard, we give that to the artist and tell them this is what you have to follow. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that you can't say certain stuff, but know that if you do say certain stuff, you're going to be graded this way. And there's a possibility that this could be the reaction. This could be the response. You might not.
Yeah. I would love to interpret art from our artists in that way, because when I, like, you ever seen Key and Peele and have the Obama translator?
Yeah.
It's like, this is what he said, but this is what he meant.
Yeah, exactly.
I think when I listen to music, I always hear what you just said, but I'm like, it's basically what he's saying. Go rob a truck, get the money, do this, have bottles at the club. I mean, that's all he's rapped about right there.
Yeah.
Versus hip hop and rap's original intent is to teach.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're supposed to be able to hit me with something that I only need one time to hear it, and I just learned something. And you only get that one chance sometimes from an MC.
Yeah. And it resonates on so many different levels. You take it with you, like, for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the power of hip hop. That's the influence. That's the value.
So a lot of what rap has been doing is telling us maybe a scenario, or I mean, oftentimes some of the lyrics are not even, they're disjointed. They just saying something. They're not even like the first two bars don't got nothing to do with the last two bars.
Yeah.
And original hip hop was like, you got to hear all three verses to get the whole what happened. Or
exactly.
I'm either telling you something of what happened, painting out a story, or I'm teaching you a way to feel or be, versus like the disjointed lyrics, man. I think we got to stop that, because that's just making stuff that our counterparts are putting money into, knowing it's pulling us away from where we need to go.
Exactly. So I'm gonna definitely be in touch with you, bro, about that. We gotta have a few more sit downs and conversations around this, because this is the movement that I think we can definitely spark.
Yeah, we definitely need to build Cypher more often, man. We uncover a lot of the darkness inside of the mental realm through bringing our two minds together.
For sure. And my people.
Thanks to everybody who's tuned in and been watching, man. You're a part of that as well.
Yeah, it's all love. You know, we spread the message around here, and we come from a place of love and sustaining love within everybody. And like I say, this is my good brother, man. Like, anybody that might be tapping in now or in the future, y'all go support Jovial Joel and Healing Heart Sound, because this is a movement everybody should be getting around. Everybody should feel comfortable supporting. You know what I'm saying? And I know everything about this brother's intentions, and know, most of what he's been through, and know that this man here is sharing his gifts with the world in a way like no other. And I hope, no, I don't even want to say that. I know that you are just getting started, and your cup is going to be filled in ways that you cannot imagine. And it's all due to, who you are as a man, the man Mama Claude raised, you know what I'm saying? But
I say all of that.
The way you connect with everybody, bro. You're a beautiful human. I'm so proud, and I'm blessed to call you my brother and my friend. And I can't thank you enough for the things you do for me.
Hey, brother, it takes one to know one. I'm greatly appreciative to be in reflection in this lifetime with you.
Absolutely. And so, did you have anything else you wanted to impart amongst the people on this good liberation day?
Just know, my people, that sound is a secret to your success. And it all starts with how you're speaking to yourself. Give yourself grace.
Absolutely.
Before you can give grace to anybody else, give it to yourself. And let's start there. And when the time is right, go into taking a pause, an immersive sound bath, and you'll be opened up into a whole nother world of your own self. You open up your inner dimension, and you can bring that to the surface of your reality. Absolutely. I appreciate you, and thank you for envisioning and in experiencing this moment so that we can create the experience. My brother KhemHotep M. Reed.
Hey, all love, my bro. We're gonna close it out with this prayer of protection. My family prayer from me to you, from us to yours. Dua nature to all ancestors known and unknown. We give thanks for your guidance and protection along this journey called life. Ankh Uja Senev.
Ashe.
Ashe. And I'm gonna close it out with one of these videos again, bro. These things is dope.
That's the sound of enlightenment.